Hey, it's Paul here from the Off the Comma podcast. And if you've been following the podcast, you already know that it's about amazing human beings sharing amazing stories about their experience with being stuck and getting unstuck. And you've probably wondered, hey, whatever happened to that guest? What's happened since they were on the show? So that's what this is all about. We are checking in with various podcast guests and just taking 15 minutes to see what's going on in their world. So deeper connection, learning more about our guests, seeing how life unfolds for them. Enjoy this conversation, and we'll see you on the next one. We are back with another Off the Comma podcast guest check-in. We are with Amina, who was with us on the podcast episode 12 and had so much powerful insight and experience to share with us. And so these clips are all 15 minutes or less, Amina. So I'm going to jump in with you.
Okay.
Tell us kind of what you're doing today and, anything from your episode that still resonates with you.
Okay. Well, I'm all smiling and stuff because I don't even want to really say what I'm going to say because it's going to sound so cliche. But I know that on my episode, I talked a bit about, connection, seeking connection. I talked about my songwriting and how my songwriting is both a kind of means to manifest the life that I want to experience and also reflect on kind of the life that I'm experiencing at the time, etc., so on and so on. And, at the time when I did the podcast, it's really funny because I've written songs before. A lot of the songs I write are out of my experience. And then I've written songs before that I didn't know I needed. They were just songs at the time. And then later on, the music reflected kind of my life at the time. And in so many ways, that podcast did the same thing. So I was talking a little bit about how I kind of create the world that I want to exist in my songwriting. And I recently got into a relationship.
Nice.
Okay. In which I'm extremely happy. And I have been single for like 15 years, which is not bad in any way, shape, or form. It was good, and there's a time for growth for me. But in the interim, I'm a songwriter who writes songs about love. And a lot of those love songs started out as like really just heartbreak songs and then the pursuit of love songs. But then I was like, I don't want to write about that anymore. I'm writing like these deep love songs about, the type of love relationship that I want to be in. And then when I got in this relationship with my partner and my person, he was like, I feel like you wrote these songs about me. And I'm like, when you say it, all of these songs kind of reflect the experience that we're having right now. And up until now, I've not experienced that before. It was just writing songs about what I wanted to experience. So I almost feel like that I did just that, manifest kind of the love that I wanted to receive. And in the process, of course, there's work to do, like becoming the person that you want to be to receive the love that you want to receive, etc. You can't just like reduce it to one thing. But I will say that creating the life that I wanted to live and how like using songs to kind of, touch base with myself, tap in with myself and see where I'm at and also where I want to be. It really was a thing. And, we were speaking extemporaneously on the podcast. I didn't plan to say any of that stuff. I actually heard it back, when I listened to it and I was like, oh, wow, you spitting. And then even now, kind of remembering or being reminded of what was talked about in that podcast is so funny how even, how many months later, it was like 5 months later, it's again, that podcast itself kind of almost is like a portal to where I am now, having spoken about doing that, having realized when talking about it in that podcast that was something that I was doing. And then for me to have done it and again, and be where I am. So
It's
that's how
powerful.
I
Yeah. I mean,
am.
and you're just glowing. I mean, I have to remind myself too, like we're recording visual this time. So
Yeah.
we can see you and you're just glowing and you're smiling and you're happy. And I caught the hair twirl too.
My sister said, I sent her a picture of me and my man, and she was like, wow, you're showing your gums. And that was just a funny
Yeah.
thing because everyone who's seen pictures keeps commenting and they're like, there's so much joy in your eyes, and you're showing your gums, you're smiling so big, you seem to be happy. And another thing that was super interesting is that my best friend's mom, she was like, I sent her a picture, and then like a couple of weeks later, she was like, I've been looking at this picture of you and your man, and she was like, you look so happy, and he looks like he's found his person. Like,
Mm.
and that's her sight unseen. She's never met him. She's never talked to him. I never really told her any details about him. So yes, when you say I'm glowing and happy, I'm glad that it's being
Hmm.
reflected because there's no way that I can describe how I feel and wanting to experience that type of joy in relationship. I have joy without it. I create my joy every day, but
Yeah.
in relationship with someone that wants to be a partner to me and wants to love me and care for me in that way, and I don't have to tell people I'm in love. They're just looking at me and they're like, oh girl, I never seen you like this before.
You
So
can tell. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
and one thing that stands out for me that's so exciting about this and is just really cool, it kind of gives me a little something to kind of tuck away as well, is you said, and it was almost these words. I don't remember if they were exact, but about speaking your reality into existence. And that was
Mm-hmm.
like, of all of the rich things that you were sharing with us, that was this moment where there was kind of like there was a little bit of space cleared and those words stood by themselves in the
Mm-hmm.
conversation. And it even showed up in the show notes, right? And this idea of whether you call it manifesting or making declarations and so forth, as a coach, we talk about the power of saying things out loud and
Mm-hmm.
speaking about what you want, stating your outcomes. And yet what also comes up for me is that you don't have to know that it's going to happen or how it's going to happen, but to say what you want, say it out loud. And you even took it a step further. No, I'm going to take that back. You might say affirmations about it. You might write and journal about it. You might tell people about it. You might write and sing about it. But
Mm-hmm.
either way, you're stating your intentions. You're speaking your existence into reality that will always
Yeah.
stick with me.
Yep. I think it's interesting to me because I'm a skeptic. And so when people are like, you speak these things, you manifest these things by speaking certain things, and all those things, I'm like, okay, that sounds like kind of woo woo, like whatever. I for a long time I'm like smiling and nodding when people talk about kind of like that manifestation. And it has to take me realizing a number of things. One, and I know I remember actually speaking about this on the podcast before, is that when you speak out loud, when you make any noise, it's not it's physical. It affects the physical world. Everything we
Mhm.
say affects the physical world. And movements, of course, yes, everything affects the physical world. Every pitch, everything we say is at a pitch that's tuned to a certain frequency, vibrates the air around you, and you're literally creating new things and reshaping the world as you speak. And in doing so, in singing, in rituals, always take place in singing and stuff like that. And the collectivism of the music aspect of it is that when I sing a song and then when somebody plays that song and when I sing it again, and each time you reiterate it, you're reshaping the world, but you're reshaping it in that form. And when I can wrap my head around it that way, it's so logical and so like physical for me, and it doesn't feel so abstract and mystical. I'm like, I can get on board with it then. And now I'm like, yeah, I did do that. I did manifest that. I did create that. I said these words with intention. When I wrote these words, it was very intentional. The way that I shaped the words, the way that I chose this word instead of that one, because when anyone who's ever written a song, that you might be like, oh, this works, but it don't hit really how it's supposed to. So I did do
Mhm.
that, and the melodies coincide with it as well, and all of the instrumentation coincide with it. It all supports that manifestation, and it's like I wouldn't say that music is No, I would. I would. I'm biased. I do think music is a higher form of manifestation. That's why music is used in almost every ritual that exists around the world. You're
Hmm.
either humming chants, you're going to play music, singing bowls, all of those things. We're vibrating at a certain frequency. Even the ancient Greeks coined the term the music of the spheres, because the belief was that um, our music interacts with a higher deity. There are even theories that the physical world was created by pitch.
Yes,
So
I was going to speak to that too. Like I certainly can't speak to all the facts and figures, but I'm seeing more and
yeah.
more content that is, you know, based on research been doing that has been done, and then of course like schools of thought that have existed before our modern versions of looking it up, right? But how
Mm-hmm.
the unique relationship that sound has with the universe,
Mm-hmm.
and even these, like, this is just me talking out of my head, right? But these crazy possibilities around perhaps the reason we haven't been able to communicate with other life forms in the universe is because their communication is through music, and what we saw
Mm-hmm.
it in movies like Close Encounters and so
Mm-hmm.
forth. It's so cool.
It is. It's cool. It's cool when I think about it. It's actually extremely sobering when I think about it. When I think about the songs I sang, I had a show I booked for Valentine's Day, and I sang on Valentine's Day, and it was the first week that I was with my man, and he's my first Valentine, and I sang the songs. I wasn't going to release this project. It was called What If. And the whole idea about the project was, what if I found this kind of love? And I got the master's back the day my dad died last year. So it kind of felt weird. And I never
Hmm.
wanted to release the project. And on Valentine's Day, I performed the songs at the gig, and he was there in the audience, and I decided to release the music. And when I wrote all these songs, one of the songs was about somebody else, actually, but it wasn't. I didn't realize I wasn't writing about that person. They never
Hmm.
fit the song. But all of the songs, literally, like the what if is like, this is what if it happened. You know what I
Wow.
mean? And it
Yeah.
was like, it was crazy. It has been a crazy experience. So that's where I'm at. You're like, where are they now? You know, where are they now? That's where I'm
Yeah.
at. It's like, it's funny because I even when we had the podcast, then I didn't know that I was going to talk about that, and even up until we just started talking now, I didn't know I was going to talk about this. So it's just, yeah, it's really sobering, and it's really also very cool to me.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I love the going with what's happening inside you, right? Like you acknowledge the didn't really plan to say the things I said on the podcast, didn't necessarily know I was going to be saying these things. I just had a conversation with someone, actually she's an upcoming guest on the podcast, and it was something that she had said in her recording, and we were meeting on some other business and so forth, and she's like, "Oh, I'm not really sure." And I said, "Well, how do you," she said, "I wasn't sure for a minute, but I got okay with it. I just wanted to let you know." And I was like, "Okay, cool." But in the conversation, it was kind of like, trust yourself. If it came up in that container where you felt safe to say what you needed to say, then
Mm-hmm.
chances are great, very high, that that wanted to be said. Because I'm a big fan of, as I see in this podcast over and over and over again, the story tells itself. And so
Yeah.
if you can kind of let go into the story, you're a great example, right? You put your intention out there, and then you let go into letting the process happen, and then you just never know what will come up, or you'd be surprised by how what you asked for can come up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. What else? We've got about 2 minutes left. And so, you know, has anything changed about where people can find you and contact you, or do you have any new projects? You were talking about your music.
Nothing has changed in how people can find me and contact me. I know that I asked you on the last podcast to start referring to me. It's such a the sensitive thing about my name. My name is Delamina. That is my name, but I go by Amina. And my artist name is Amira Chantel. And I used to use Delamina as my artist name, and I thought I might return to using Delamina as my artist name. I think I'm still going to stick with Amira Chantel. So Delamina is like not a thing, but all of the things that I gave you before are still the same. Amir Chantel everywhere. AmirChantel.com, Amir Chantel, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Bandcamp, AmirChantel.bandcamp.com. And Bandcamp is the only place the new project can be found right now. I have not released
Okay.
it to streaming at all. I'm hoping I probably will eventually, but I really would like people to go to Bandcamp, listen to it. You can stream it for free up to 3 times, and then you have to buy it, and it's not expensive. It's like $7 for the project, 3 songs for $7. Can't
Yeah.
beat that. And on Bandcamp Friday, which is this Friday, I don't know when people are going to hear this, so they might miss it anyway. But Bandcamp Friday comes very regularly. If you ever purchase something off of Bandcamp on Bandcamp Friday, the artist keeps all of the money, so there's no commission taken
Wonderful.
out by the platform. So Bandcamp Friday is this Friday, March 1st, but there is one I think every quarter or something like that. So if you miss this one, you find the next one. But it's always a higher percentage of pay that comes to the artist when you buy it on Bandcamp. So that is why I kind of opted out of streaming it this time, because I can get 1 million streams and I still won't get probably like $10. I don't know. I've never had 1 million streams. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if 5 people buy my project, I get $35. If 5 people stream my project, I don't get any money.
Yeah.
So, I do care if people buy it, but I also do just want people to hear it. So I don't care if you buy it. If you go to Bandcamp, you can still hear it for free 3 times before you have to buy it. So that's enough times to know if you like it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it does matter, right? Because we, at least you and I do, we talk about this. I can't speak for the rest of the world, but I do know that there's a lot of conversation about that it is about supporting local, supporting solo,
Mm-hmm.
supporting artists, and so forth. And so, to me, a $7 investment to buy music and you get all the money is well worth it.
Yeah.
And we know that there's a lot of bigger societal context here at play too. So hell
Yeah.
yeah. So I will include some of those links in the description of this video clip. And
Mm-hmm.
Amina, I get to obviously stay in touch with you all the time because we're neighbors.
Yes.
And
Oh, that was cute.
yeah, did you
Did you
see
see
that? How, yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's these things you can't really Google to find it either, but supposed to be some sparkles. Um, until next time, I'm sure we'll talk again in the context
Yeah.
of the podcast, but thank you for sharing your updates.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Have a wonderful weekend ahead.
You too.